the dark holes you find yourself in, the skills you must develop to climb out actually build skyscrapers.
I'm all for it. We're playing the same game, and I think we realize at a deep level with humility that this game is winnable together at a far greater level than it would be if him and I were doing it separately.
We are live. We are live in the Jeff Knows Zine podcast. I am super excited. The first time ever, we actually have two guests on and partners in crime. We are just a little past 100 episodes, so this is a pretty exciting time. These two young gentlemen across from us here have accomplished a ton at a very young age. We have Alan Lazaros. Did I get that right?
It's Lazaros, but no worries.
Lazaros. I just messed up right at the beginning. And Kevin Palmieri. How are you, boys?
Living the dream, some would say, Jeff. Living the dream.
Blessed.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off by, because it's the first time we've had two guests on. Where did you guys meet? How did you guys meet? And where did your relationship start? Let's start from there.
So Alan and I both grew up in the same town. We went to elementary, middle, and high school together. Alan and I played spin the bottle in his basement, and I got to kiss one of the most popular girls in our school at the time when we were younger. But then
fifth grade for context.
Yeah, fifth grade. I peaked early. But I think the interesting thing, and Alan can speak to this as well, is we were friends early on in life, but as we became who we are, we didn't really like each other that much. Alan tended to be a little bit more arrogant, and I was super, super insecure. So Alan was a mirror that I wasn't ready to look at. And it's interesting, and the beautiful thing about Alan and I is I've learned so much about him as a human that I know what I saw wasn't necessarily what was real. So that's really helped me understand Alan at a deeper level. So yeah, we went from really good friends to not liking each other to now being best friends and business partners trying to change the world. And I'll let Alan give his perspective.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We have something called the Drive to 5, where we think that everyone's on the spectrum from 0 to 10, and 5 is being centered. The 10s, think they're great, but they're sometimes a big fish in a small pond. They tend to be overly confident and sometimes arrogant. On the 0s, they have self-doubt. They struggle with self-doubt. So the best way to explain this is the 10s don't believe they need a mentor. The 0s don't believe they deserve one, or they're too scared to get one. So we call it the Drive to 5. Kevin and I have been each other's mirror to really help us understand our strengths and weaknesses. And basically, I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives. He had a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. I was the first guest on his show. And then we just kept kind of reconnecting. And eventually we had the Hyperconscious Podcast meets the Conversations Change Lives podcast. And eventually it was like, listen, that name's too long.
It's a little wordy.
Let's just do this thing. And then, 400 episodes in, we rebranded to Next Level University. So that's the story. Yeah.
So 400. And so when was the first day you guys actually got in studio and recorded your first actual podcast together? What was the date on that?
Oh boy. I honestly don't remember the date. I'm pretty sure it was either March or April of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy is, that is not that long ago, 4 years ago, but that's essentially OGs in the podcast world for you guys being so young. Oh, 100%. Because, they're saying right now we're looking at 1.8 or 1.9 million podcasts out there. And I would say you're probably looking around 25% of those are actually inactive. And probably you're looking at around 25% of them started in the last 12 months because of the pandemic, people being home, people feeling like there's something else to do. And so you guys actually getting on a mic and starting this, how was your outlet? How did you see the reaction over time? When did you start seeing the momentum of the build?
It's interesting because I think one thing that we've done really, really good at is building a community. So I think a lot of people look at the external, like they'll see the studio and they'll say like, oh, you guys must be really crushing it. You have a studio and all this, but like what they don't see is the conversations that Alan and I are blessed enough to have every day with our listeners. Like we say this, Jeff, we don't have fans, we have family. I know almost everything about our listeners, where they live, what they're going through, how their relationship is, what their life is really like behind the scenes. So in terms of the perception, I think that's really starting to shift. But in terms of the fulfillment and really seeing the result behind the scenes, honestly, we've had that almost since the beginning because we focused on it so much. Like I don't want to be, I send custom videos to people. I send audios. I know it's not the best productive, quote unquote, use of my time, but it is. It is in the long run for me. I
love that. I love it. What about you, Alan?
So I think to mirror what Kevin said, from the very beginning, we were always trying to help people improve the quality of their life through becoming more successful and fulfilled. It's interesting because at the start of every journey, you know, you have those big goals of we want to be the best podcast in the personal development space. And that's sort of where we planted our flag very early on. His hero was Joe Rogan, mine was Tony Robbins. And we were like, what would happen if they met up? What kind of impact could they have? And that was the grand vision. But really, when it came down to the way we operated in our day-to-day life, it really had to do with helping people improve the quality of their life. That's always been our focus. It used to be the Hyperconscious podcast, change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. And so having really deep conversations about a lot of things that people don't commonly talk about, like we're not going to talk about the weather, we're not going to talk about sports, like we're going to talk about how to improve the quality of your life, like what makes the difference in people's lives. And again, to mirror what Kevin said, now we're starting to see that consistency flip really start to pay off. We put in a lot of the hard yards early on, and now things are really starting to proliferate, especially with listens and impact and profitability. But for a long time there, it was really people helping people and creating that community. And one of the things that got us through the hard times, I mean, and I'll just share this briefly. So I had an electrical and computer engineering degree, bachelor's. You know, I had a master's degree in business. I went into corporate. I was a 1% earner by age 24, making almost 200 grand a year. And that all sounds great. But I eventually, in the podcast game, I was landscaping on the side for $100 for 4 hours in the hot sun for my friend's mom, while Kevin and I were bootstrapping in debt just to get to where we are now, because I just refused to go back to corporate. I got offered a job for $250,000 to be the VP of sales for $1 billion tech company that one of my main mentors was the CEO of at the time. And I had to turn down $250,000 to literally landscape on the side for $100. Like, that's the level of commitment we had from the get. And I think that later in our journey, you know, almost 600 episodes in, people are going to see the success, but they're not going to see how many dark times we had where we couldn't pay for anything. We were just bootstrapping. We were in credit card debt. And I think that we want to be the ones who, you know, 2 kids from a small town grew up without fathers. Like, statistically, there's no reason him and I should be successful, genuinely. And I could go deeper into that stuff. But at the end of the day, he has never quit tattooed on his arm. And I had big ass vision, man. Big vision. And you combine those two and it's just amazing.
I think it's one word that I think that some people overuse but it's very powerful and could be utilized in the right direction is belief. You guys both believed in yourselves probably when others might have not, but that's the strongest thing I think is building that self-belief. And I think a lot of the younger generation don't have that self-belief. It's almost a fake mirrored image. And that's what the whole image of social media, because everybody's striving to be that guy with that, taking a picture with that Ferrari, or trying to be that fake image, and they're never being authentic with themselves. And when you learn how to believe, and that's something I tried to instill in my children from a very young age. And I've told this, and I have it on my post on social media even from years ago, where with my son, I knew from a young age, I had to make him understand and believe in himself. And everything had to be that center where you could achieve it. I mean, little things for him, like hopping on 1 foot, took 3 months to build every single day just to be able to get his 1 foot off the ground. So having that understanding of belief, and I actually got these 2 custom plaques made, and I put them up over my children's doors, both of them. And it says, believe in yourselves. And I used to actually make them say it. And they still do to this day, how many years later. Every single night before they go to bed, they would stop. They would have to look at it and say, I believe in myself. 5 times they would say it to themselves. And I would force them to do it every single day. And it's just that thing as a parent. I mean, you guys both said you didn't grow up with dads. And as a father, I feel like it's my duty to instill that belief in my kids. And there's certain other things, breaking that fear. Like I think fear is something that we're not born with. I think it's something that we instill as young children. And I think a lot of that fear comes from our parents saying, hey, don't touch the stove, you're gonna burn yourself. Don't run down the stairs, you're gonna fall. So these little things, it was somehow impacted in both you guys, whether you guys got indirectly through mentoring, indirectly through somebody, but obviously you guys had belief in yourselves and you guys didn't have fear and you knew the long-term what would happen. So I love that you said that. It's pretty impactful. So
Jeff, I got my belief from Alan. I didn't have belief. Genuine. So Alan was very successful in corporate America. I was and again, I mean nothing against any of these jobs, but I was the gas station attendant who didn't go to college. Yeah. I literally cleaned toilets in a hospital, cleaned blood off of beds, personal trainer, truck driver, construction, fire academy. Like, I was suicidal and I left my job. and Alan was there for me, and him and I, that's when we really were like, look, we're going to do this.
How many years ago was this when you guys were
2017.
So it was exactly right before you guys started the podcast together.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a construction foreman traveling all up and down the East Coast, basically doing weatherization for buildings and really doing whatever he had to do to make money.
I made 6 figures at 26 without a college degree, but I traded in.
Yeah.
I was on the road for 10 months out of the year, hotel to hotel, and it was not fulfilling. There was no benefits. I was risking my life sometimes, and it was just like, this isn't the life I want to live.
If we could sum it up quickly, he's been unbelievably resilient. In other words, like the dude can just go through massive discomfort and pain. Like that's why he's also so in shape, but like didn't necessarily have the belief. So he tolerated a lot of what he could get rather than what he could create. I was just very, very, very visionary, but I don't think I worked as much on my character as I should have or could have. Steve Jobs was a hero of mine since I was 14. And it's just, when you combine vision with that level of resilience and work ethic and his ability to grind, it's a powerful combination. And I think that a lot of partnerships in the world have those two, one's more visionary, one's more practical. And as long as you can find a way to, again, drive to 5 and work in perfect harmony, you can really do something amazing with a partner. And I'm sure you've had many business partners in the past that have helped you stay
it was funny you're saying that, because I've had 2 companies in the past, and I appreciate and I respect your connection as partners, because I've had experiences with partners and they've never worked out. And it's been a drive where I'm go. I've always been like that. I've always been the first I had to get it. When I was 16, I got my tattoo. At my 16th birthday, I told my friends, I'm going to get my tattoo. And back then it was called a 365. So you do a written test, and then you're allowed to do your driver's license right after. So within a week, I got a tattoo, got my written test, took my car, got my license, and bought my first car at 16. It was an IROC 1986 used up Camaro. And that was my mindset. I've always been the first. I have to do everything. I'm never kind of waiting for it. But so when I started businesses with partners, it was always a situation where I would be hustle, let's go. And then I would turn around and they're like, it couldn't mesh. And there's nothing wrong with these people. Both businesses, we've parted ways, and I'm still really close friends with these guys on a personal level. But when it comes to business, I've never had that, or I never connected with that right person where it just locked in like you guys do. And I think it's a very special thing, because it is a marriage, right? It is a marriage.
For sure.
I'm going to throw this out at you guys. And I don't know if anybody's ever done this to you guys. I'm going to start off with Alan, because I know Kevin will jump on this quickly. Alan, in a few words, describe what Kevin means to you.
He helped me become a better man.
Kevin?
Alan helped me believe in myself and believe that I actually can be successful.
So you guys, when did you guys start your coaching business together?
Together, it was last year, really, together.
Does coaching for free count?
Yeah, we went through that, right? I mean, that's,
yeah. Well, then 12.
In our space, you guys have to understand, and I think you guys probably appreciate this, understand this, that once you get into this service or this industry, you have to understand that 99% of the way we help people is going to be for free. I mean, that's just the way it is. That 1%, you'll probably end up getting paid, but you have to have that mindset. You're serving like you guys did, and eventually it'll all come back. Like I said, I spent 3 years with entrepreneurs, and now I'm actually starting to slowly on my page post their testimonials. And some of them are like, yeah, we're hitting our second 7-figure company, and Jeff started us from ground zero. I never charged a penny. I was on the phone sometimes at 7, 8, 9 at night for hours with them, helping them grow their business. And it was just because I like helping people. And sometimes that's my biggest default, because even last Thursday, I had 4 hours back-to-back coaching. And it was just it is, when you're doing one-on-one coaching, it's mentally draining.
Oh yeah.
And I got home that day and I was looking at my wife, like, I'm just drained. Like did a podcast. I got 2 companies. I dealt with my staff from both companies, did all this stuff. And then I did 4 hours before the end of the day, back-to-back of coaching. I didn't get paid for one of those hours. It was just people I met on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And they're like, oh, can you help me? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And it's just, I feel good, but it is draining, right? It is draining, but you have to look at the long haul and how impactful and what you are looking to impact, right? So you guys, Next Level University is just the podcast, or is it actually the coaching business as well?
So Next Level University is the podcast, and then we have Next Level Universe, which we're going to have an online training platform where we'll have online courses.
Yeah.
But then we have Next Level Group Coaching, which is a group initiative we have. Then we also have Next Level Podcast Solutions, where we help podcasters grow their podcasts. Like we have a full service where we do the YouTube and all that stuff. And then we also have Next Level Business Solutions, which is Alan's forte because he's the business master.
Mm-hmm. Everything's next level. We've got a business model that has a bunch of layers. It has 12 layers.
Yeah.
And my KPI is rating from 0 to 10 each layer and making sure that we're optimizing each layer, adding as much value as possible on each, and then improving and basically converting down the funnel or the business model. Not funnel in terms of ClickFunnels, but like business model. And we have a 11-person team at this point where everybody's the champion of their own layer of the business model. It's pretty well optimized. But in terms of the coaching piece, like you said, we coached for years helping listeners. And now we have a business coaching and a podcast coaching, and we have group coaching. And things are really starting to proliferate, especially in terms of the profitability. I say mastery, impact, and money. Mastery and impact have to come first.
100%.
Because money's a byproduct of impact. And without mastery, you won't have a good impact. If you're not a great coach, you're not going to be able to, help a lot of people. So we're very blessed.
That being said, somebody I know somewhat well, and I've talked to a few times, and I saw a video, which I thought was pretty impactful on Terrence McMahon. Mm-hmm. I think you posted it. Was it both you guys coaching or just you, Alan?
Alan did.
I did, yeah.
How long were you working with Terrence for?
How long was I? I worked with Terrence for about a year.
Yeah, that was a pretty impactful little video there.
I
mean, he has an incredible story, and he was actually one of my first guests I had on my podcast, and since then we've talked on a regular basis. And yeah, that was a pretty great little video I saw there. So, Kevin, growing up, were you into sports? Like, give me your childhood. Obviously, you said you didn't have a dad. Was your dad in any part of your life?
I met my dad. So we did an episode recently on this, on how one courageous moment can change your life. I got a private Facebook message when I was 27 from my father's girlfriend. Didn't know who it was, didn't know what it was about. And she said, "Hey, I'm your father's girlfriend. He said that he would love to meet you. He's so proud of everything you've done." And I literally fell on the floor and started crying because it was like, I didn't think this was a demon I was going to have to face. Like, I've already buried that. I buried that deep within me. But I ended up saying, this is something I have to do. And so I met my father for realistically the first time when I was 27 or 28. So yeah, he wasn't there when I was younger.
How was that relationship? Has it continued, or was it a one-time thing?
You'll understand this at a deep level. I'm sure. I know Alan does. It's hard for me to plug somebody into my life that I'm supposed to have this love and unconditional love for, when it's like, I don't have time to do many things, and bringing somebody into a role that isn't a role that I want to give them is a really, really tough thing for me. So we spent a couple times together, but it's just not, I guess in a weird way, I don't feel like I need it. That's the best way to explain it, is like, I dealt with that for 27 years, and I didn't ever think this was going to happen. I don't know if it's worth it to me.
Interesting.
That's how I operate. Like,
no, I'm. I mean, both you guys are, whether you guys realize it or not, just by listening to you guys, and I put myself in that category. Like, I've always been self-employed, so I find you guys, you're both natural entrepreneurs. Even when you're talking, Kevin, how you're going hustle, is that hustle. Like, we can have this conversation all day, and I don't know what your mindsets are on it, but I just had this. It was funny because I was just talking to. We're doing a project together. Just gentlemen, Brian Bogert and Mike Diamond, you guys know, we're doing a little project together, and we're having this deep conversation the other day on and everybody talks about it. Gary Vee has his opinion on it, but are entrepreneurs naturally born entrepreneur, or is it something you can be taught with the right tools? Where's your mindset on that? Each one, let's go, and then I'll tell you mine. Where's your mindset with that?
Want me to take it? I think it's both nature versus nurture, same deal, right? Obviously, I'm not going to beat LeBron James at basketball. He's a born basketball player, but he also had a basketball in his hand at 5, right? So I can be a natural snowboarder, but if I didn't grow up on a mountain, I'm not going to beat Southwest Scott. So it's nature versus nurture. I think I am a naturally born entrepreneur, but I also think it can be taught. But here I'll give you this expression, and it's kind of an off-color expression, but I think it works. See, talent beats hard work. or no, hard work. I'm sorry. Hard work beats talent. But what happens when talent works hard? I think that's the frame. So I think some people have natural inclinations. I genuinely believe I have a natural inclination for communication and for mathematics and for long-term strategic thinking, for sure. And I do believe on some level I have some strengths that give me what I would refer to as leadership and entrepreneurial tendencies. And I do think a lot of that is innate. But I also understand that my environment and my upbringing brought me some tools that I could never have been born with. In particular, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, is I think we believe that adversity is a bad thing unless we're very, very enlightened. And here's what I would say. So I grew up in an environment that so my father passed away when I was 2. And so to articulate to you that I grew up in adversity is an understatement in many ways. And I don't want to get into any of that stuff, but what I do know is that I grew up with some pain and suffering that I did not know how to deal with. And those in my life didn't really fully understand how to deal with. You know, obviously we live in a world now where personal development and therapy is more common. Back then there wasn't any internet, and, you know, we had dial-up eventually, but it wasn't that common, right? So I guess long story long here, I was born with certain strengths, but my adversity and my self-belief, if you have self-belief, I believe that adversity becomes your advantage, because you use the adversity to develop muscle, emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical muscle to go do extraordinary things that ordinary people can't do. And so I think that was my 2 gifts. Number 1, I had undying self-belief. I always believed I could do anything I set my mind to, even to the delusion of thinking I could beat LeBron James at basketball had I started young enough. But I also had tons of adversity, which combine adversity with self-belief, you always overcome it. So you just develop unbelievable skills. And I say this, the dark holes you find yourself in, the skills you must develop to climb out actually build skyscrapers. And so if you don't have self-belief, though, adversity isn't actually an advantage because it keeps you stuck. And being stuck doesn't really help you grow and develop. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I do believe we all have natural inclinations, and I do believe we have Michael Jordan level talent at something, each of us.
100%.
But if we don't live in that genius zone and then believe in ourselves, it's really not going to matter. And someone who does, even outside their genius zone, will win.
Interesting. I disagree, because I don't think I'm a natural entrepreneur. I'm very certainty driven, Jeff. Like this journey has been unreasonably hard for me because of the lack of certainty. Not because of the grind, not because of the hard work. I'm just very certainty driven. And being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know where you're going to get your next meal early on. You don't know what's going to happen with your business. Like I traded in everything for this. Friendships, relationships. I traded in everything. So I think for me, if I didn't want to change the world, if I didn't want to impact at least 1 billion lives with Alan, I probably wouldn't be doing this. I just found what I love. And going back to your point about partnership, I think that's why Alan and I work so well. If Alan knows something more than I do that's going to help us impact people, I'm in. We're playing the same game. It's not about the money. It's about the mastery separately and together, but it's about the impact. And if I have an idea to impact people, Alan's all for it. If he has an idea to impact people, I'm all for it. We're playing the same game. And I think we realize at a deep level with humility that this game is winnable together at a far greater level than it would be if him and I were doing it separately.
For sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this or listening to this, it's obvious that you want to get to the next level of your life. We can help you get there faster.
In 3 months from today, your life can look completely different. Here's how. Group coaching. Here's what you're going to get. So you're going to get bi-weekly calls with Kevin and myself. You're going to be on a team of 10 like-minded, growth-oriented individuals. You're also going to be in a WhatsApp chat with Kevin and I and the entire team, 24/7 access to chat. Also, you're going to get bi-weekly progress reports and peak performance tracking.
Guys, this is a great opportunity for those who can't afford one-on-one coaching with Alan and myself. We have helped dozens and dozens of people get to the next level at this point. Go to nextleveluniverse.com, click group coaching, or find the link in the show notes.
Talk to you soon.
There's 2 things you guys said there. One, you keep saying game and team. It's essentially, it is a team. And that's how I run all my staff. How I run everything. you guys mentioned something, I think Alan said something in the past here in our conversation about family, but when it comes to partnerships and when it comes to staffing, my mindset is you have to run everything as a team. You all have an end goal. And I always say this where, I mean, I'm coming from Canada, so I'll talk hockey. You got your first line, second line, third line, fourth line. Your first line are your highest paid athletes, which your higher paid staff. They're the ones that are going to take the most of the brunt. Those are the ones that have the most responsibility. But the fourth line, the grunters, the penalty killers, they're just as important at the overall, because everybody as a team has one end goal, to win the championship. And so you guys understand that very much by just what you're saying to each other is, you guys both have the end goal. You both understand what the end goal is. And as a team, you're going to do what has to be done to get to the end goal. It's not about me, it's about us. So I appreciate that. And my intake with entrepreneurs, I find, and like I said, I've had this conversation so many times, but I find that you are born an entrepreneur. That's my mindset. And what I mean by that is you could teach the tools, you could teach the skills to build a business. You could teach the skills to hire staff. You could teach all these tools and skills. At the end of the day, that hustle, that drive, that I'm going to landscape, I'm going to hustle, that hustle, you can't teach that. And as much as I know you said 20 ROMs, you go to an event, and I'll probably rub feathers along the wrong way for a lot of people here, but you go to a 20 ROMs event and you got 5,000 people in the room and they're all in their hands in the air and they're all chanting. 85 to 90% of that room, when they leave there, that Sunday, by Tuesday, Wednesday, they're back to their normal lives and they forgot everything that happened there because they don't have that internal drive, that internal hustle. It's that small percent that have that hustle, and sometimes it needs the impact of somebody else or some other adversity to get that out of you. But I do believe it's naturally in you. I think that hustle, that drive, you can't teach that. That's what makes the top 1% of the athletes. That's what makes, you go to the Division I school, 80% of those Division I players, all at that level, are all top tier athletes. What makes the difference from the Kobe's and the LeBrons and stuff? It's the ones that are willing to put that extra work in because they have the hustle, that drive, right? So I think the hustle and the drive is very clear in both you guys. And it's something that I think it has to be apparent in somebody to be able to get them to that next level, to be very successful at something. That's my opinion, obviously. So with both you guys, let's talk about relationships. How long have you guys been in relationships for, and what does your significant other mean to you guys?
I'm going on 2 years in June with my girlfriend, but we actually dated back in the day. So she knew lower vibration Kevin when I was just a bodybuilder, and I was just a bro, to the best way to explain it. And I appreciate that. She is my R&R. She is my safe place. She is where I can take off the armor and just kind of be like, you know how it is when we're in front of the camera constantly. We do 5 episodes a week. We're about to cross 600 coaching calls. I'm always in front of this thing in the studio doing this. When I go home, I just like to be sometimes, and I just like to turn it off and just exist. So she is that safe place. She is the motivation. She is the inspiration. She is very similar to your family and your children, the why power for me that keeps me going on the hard days.
I love that. Go Alan.
So year and a half now. And it's interesting because I've had relationships that were up to 5 years. And then this is actually, out of my serious relationships, the shortest so far, but it's not about the amount of time. It's about the amount of depth. I remember feeling 3 weeks in with Emilia, my current girlfriend, like, this is going to be my wife, and I knew her at such a deep level. This is the way I would try to explain it. Okay. All 3 of us have the potential to climb Mount Everest. Okay. But if we try right now, we're all going to die because we're not conditioned. We don't have the right trainers yet. We don't know how to climb Mount Everest. So this is the analogy that I use to explain my relationship. My mom and my sister and my loved ones, they want to understand me sincerely, and they do love me. Honestly, they're not fully capable of understanding me because they've never had huge goals. So they don't understand what's required in order to do that. I know that sounds harsh. With my current girlfriend, when I met her, I didn't know her ambitions and her aspirations yet, but for some reason I knew she was different. I had never met someone like her before in my entire life. To this day, I never have. And then eventually, actually on the night that I asked her to be with me, which is 3 months later, or 2.5 months later, I found out that she had intended to have a net worth of $1 billion and really change the world. And prior to me, And that's when I was like, oh, that's why. All my past relationships, they didn't have that level of self-belief to be the greatest female leader in the 21st century. Now, it's not an ego place. It's a spiritual self-belief wanting to impact the world in a big, meaningful way.
Yeah.
And that is what I would say about Emilia. What does she mean to me? She is proof to me of something that I did not know existed. Because I never felt fully understood, if I'm honest, by anyone in my life. Kevin was by far the closest to understanding me. Emilia doesn't just understand me, she is me. And it's like, it's unbelievable. So if you're out there right now listening, before I get too esoteric,
I think you're gone there already.
I know, right? People have told me my whole life, when you know, you'll know.
Yeah.
It's like, you'll know when you know. Absolutely true. 100% true. Because you don't really realize that the other relationships weren't it until you have the one. And it's like, this is so blatantly obvious to me now that this is the one. The next closest is like a 2, and those weren't even bad relationships. So when people say that cliche thing of how do you know it's the one, you will know. And until then, do not settle. That's all I'll say is do not settle. It's unbelievable what we have. And yeah, you'll know.
Yeah, I love that. I'm more like, I would say, Kevin. My wife's very much, and I think that the way you're describing your girlfriend, Kevin, it's she's very laid back, very just.
She's super heart driven. She works with adults with developmental disabilities. So she's like very, very heart driven, very giving, super supportive, super patient.
Yeah. I've been married for, like I said, I'm going on to 18 years. We started dating when we were 19. And actually I grew up with her, not knowing we'd ever have a relationship. She's older than me. She was friends with my sister. So I'd always knew her around. It's funny because the other day we pulled up pictures of my 16th birthday and somehow she was there and I didn't even really talk to her. So it's funny that going on how many years later, right? But we had this understanding where she's just this, I'm the teacher to my children. I'm the hustler, the pusher. I'm the one that makes them exceed their expectations. My wife's more the nurturing, the sweet, the kind, the hugging. But we've been married for 18 years almost. And I tell people this, they think I'm crazy. We don't have a bank account yet together. We've never argued about money. She's very independent. I appreciate her independence. She has a great career and she takes care of certain bills. I take care of certain bills. And we come together for certain things financially, but it's we've never argued about money. And she's a very simple. To her saying is, if today doesn't change, it's a good day. She just wants a simplicity in her life. She wants just to spend time with her family and be around her loved ones. And I'm the opposite. I'm the go, 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 go. So I think just like you said, Kevin, when I get home, she grounds me every day. And I appreciate that, right? It's just that grounding factor where I understand that I got my safe haven when I come home. I got my safe place to be home, because she just makes all that drive, all that hustle. When I get home, it's just like you're in a different environment all of a sudden. She's very calming that way. So and that's why we get along so well. And when it comes to relationships, do you guys even have any plans of popping questioning? Am I putting this pressure on you guys online?
Oh no,
you're good, man.
We're planning on
doing a double proposal
next year. No, probably not. With what I know, no. Probably next year for me. That's the plan. Married next year, and then kids within the next 2 or 3 is the plan.
Yeah, I always say this, and this is one thing we did with. I'm here giving you guys advice, but when we got married, we said we're going to stay married for a year, and then we are going to buy a living thing to see if we could take care of something for a year. So we got our dog for a year, and then we had our first child. So it was in sequence, right? Because you know what? It's do you guys live with your girlfriends or?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. So you guys are different than us. So I came from my wife's old school European where she ain't living with me till she got married, right? So It was a little different. So we had to get married. So bodybuilding. Let's talk about that, Kevin. And I know you guys are into fitness.
Interesting shift.
Yeah, I like this.
Let's go.
There's just go with the flow. Bodybuilding. Where has that been in your life? How when did you actually start lifting iron? Because that was a big part of me. If you go to my post, I did 3 competitions from 18. You wouldn't tell now, but I'm still kind of fit. I work out every day. But from 18 to 21, I did 3 competitions. I was really into that world.
Cool, man.
What was when did you get, what age did you get into the bodybuilding, and how impactful, and did you actually step on stage, or was it just for yourself?
So I did one show. Alan's actually done more shows than I have, but
okay, I've certainly lost more shows than he has.
Yeah, Alan did physique, and I did bodybuilding. So I was in very little trunks. I literally started working out when I was 15. So I've been working out for 16 years now, fairly consistently.
Yeah.
I've done jiu-jitsu, I've done Muay Thai, I've done wrestling, I've done boxing. Like, I wanted to fight for a living at one point. That was my goal back in the day. I left that out.
I got equipment for you. I got a place that has equipment if you ever need it.
I've heard. We'll have to link up. For me, I absolutely hated bodybuilding. I love working out. I love exercising. I love being strong. I love looking lean. I love all that. Stepping on stage took something from me I don't know that I'll ever get back, just in terms of my all or nothing mentality.
Okay, let's go. Continue.
If I had pictures, like, I would show you the pictures. I was unreasonably lean, like unreasonably.
That was me. I was getting down to like 3.5-4%.
It's
like
brutal.
that water cut at the last 2-3 days, and it's the most unhealthy sport.
Yeah,
it's not a healthy sport at all. And psychologically, you're never satisfied. You're never happy.
I was traveling. I literally used my chicken. So I was driving a van from New Jersey to Massachusetts. It was in the passenger seat. I used my chicken as a spoon to eat my rice because I didn't have any silverware in the cold. I ate eggs.
Yeah.
I ate egg whites.
Yeah.
Chicken and rice, protein powder, and a salad every day for 3 months. I exercised 6 times a week and did cardio 6 times a week, all while traveling, working a full-time job, being up for 24 hours quite frequently. It just was so unhealthy.
His job was on his feet too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the thing.
In like attics, in like, in like 120-degree weather, it was brutal.
It's brutal.
My relationship tanked because of it. My sex drive tanked. My testosterone tanked. I definitely had addiction to food after, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Because your levels are so low, you just eat until you're throwing up. It was brutal. I'll never do it again, Jeff.
My last show, I think the 6 foods we were taking was hip steak, tuna, water tuna, chicken, brown rice, yams, and I think just salad, or just greens for salad.
Yeah.
And I was having literally, which is my protein take, was like 350 grams. Like, it was my kidneys would hurt some days. I was a lot bigger. I mean, I used to step on stage at 195, but on my off season I was around 240. And I would literally be having like 6 shakes a day on top. So now, and those 5-6 foods, that's all I ate for the same thing for 3 months.
Yeah.
That was all you did. And it's so psychologically just draining on your body, right? Yeah. Mentally, physically, you're never happy. You never feel a thing. And then you step on stage, and the best I ever got was 3rd place in Ontario's. And it's just, you're depressed. You're depressed after. And then you're done your show, and I love birthday cake, that cheap icing filled birthday cake. I would be slapping a birthday cake down as soon as I'm done and feel like crap for 3 days. And
but it crosses over, doesn't it? Like, I'm convinced of this, and I would love your take on this as a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How many entrepreneurs at the top of the top are actually in shape, and why aren't they? Like, I'm talking look good in shape. Like muscles, abs, defined shoulders, legs.
Almost none.
Very few are, right? So
unless they have a fitness business, in which case they might. Yeah.
Or if they're on less sauce on the steroids, helps as well.
Yeah.
But I think that for us, let's
go there. Let's go there.
Never.
Do you not find that a lot of entrepreneurs are on right now? It's not a bad thing, but a lot of them are on TRT right now.
Oh, for sure.
There's so many of them. It's like everywhere I'm looking at, these guys are on pictures. I'm like, these are all on test. I mean, they're all on steroids, and it's like people don't realize it.
No. Right. Well, the thing is, it's legal, and you can prescribe it, so it's not cheating to people.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, nobody really understands what that means. Like, that's how you want to fight anti-aging. You take TRT, and you're anti-aging. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, it's very heavy into celebrities and obviously the actors and stuff like that. I mean, most of them are on that stuff. So you stepped on stage too, Alan. Okay, let's go there.
So I
just for people to listen before you go, physique is not physique, whereas it's physique is still a bodybuilder nowadays. It's I don't even know why they call it physique, because you're essentially just a leaner bodybuilder. But
because they don't have to show their legs. That's why.
Yeah. We're in the board shorts. So I did 3 shows, lost my first one, came in 5th out of 6 people. Second one won, but with a pretty solid showing. And then third one I came in 4th. So you know, the first one I lost and got devastated, and then I worked way harder. Second one I really did crush it. I was strong. Best physique I've ever had. But I'll tell you this too. It was a month out, and I called my coach, and I'm like, dude, this is brutal. I need a cheat meal. Like, I feel terrible. I'm afraid of stuff I'm normally not afraid of. Like, I'm a pretty abundant, more than enough, like, self-belief kind of guy. I started getting all weird and insecure. It's just it's not healthy. Physiology affects your everything. You know, we talk about the PMES system. We created PMES. I got to pronounce that correctly because otherwise people will think it's PMS or the other thing. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Those are the 4 facets of the human condition, and physical is 1/4 of the equation, and they affect your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual. And so I would say my bodybuilding experience, to answer your original question, I would say it helped me learn the tools that I needed to really flourish in my life. Like, now it's not that, I want to say it's not hard, because it's hard. I had a killer workout with my girlfriend last night, but like, I came up with a simple formula that anyone can use. I used to call it Naturally Fit for Life, and it's so simple. And this is the whole game, in my opinion. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility. Okay, sleep, 8 hours a night. For some people 7, some people 9, depends on who you are and what level you compete at. But 8 hours a night. Okay, hydration, multiply your body weight by 0.6. Drink that amount of water minimum per day, and do it across the day, not all at once. Nutrition, how many calories are you eating a day versus how many you're burning? Are you in a surplus or a deficit? And then what's your macronutrient breakdown? I think 20% protein, 25% fat, and then 55% carbs. Training, weight training, got to do weights. Weights are cardio.
Yeah.
Okay. Weights get your cardiovascular system running. You can do higher rep ranges if you want. Right now I'm doing 18, 15, 12, 8 and 5. So that's my current going on. And then the last one is mobility. And this is my weakest leg. Mobility is foam rolling, stretching, pliability. And if you do those 5 things, you are going to be unreasonably in shape if you can do them consistently. All 3 of us could go to the gym right now for 7 hours straight, get an amazing workout. It would be horrible, brutal. We're not going to get that much better. But if we did a half an hour workout every day, once a day, or a 40-minute workout 5 times a week for the next 4, 5, 6 months, we would be way better off. And so it's an apple a day, not 7 apples on Sunday. And that's what bodybuilding taught me. It taught me how to go extreme, so that now my walking pace is better than my all-out sprint used to be.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you said that. There's a few things you said that they're impactful in a way where a lot of people don't understand weight loss or weight gain or weight maintenance. And the way I would describe it always, and that's my, I don't know if I don't know, I told you guys, but that's my, in college, I took fitness leadership. I graduated. So that's my thing is fitness. And it's the simplest way I would describe it is you got a house, front door, back door. More calories coming in the front door, less out the back door, you gain weight.
Right.
More out the back door, less, you would lose weight. It's just simple front and back door. That's the way you got to look at your body when you're putting in calories and how many you're burning. And to me, I'm at the age where now I'm 44. My workout partner is my 12-year-old son, and you'll put our videos like we literally lift weights 5 days a week together. I don't go, my dumbbells are no more than 25 pounds, and I don't need that. And I focus more now on my age on mobility, on stretching, on core. We do a lot of planks, we do a lot of walls. It's more just building the stabilizers, and we love running, we love jogging. Now we kind of adapted to our like 2 or 3 times a week. So it's all about the mobility, and as you get older, you need that. Mm-hmm. Trust me, you need that. You guys are young still. My body, man, if I don't do my mobility 3-4 times a week, my body starts aching everywhere. Like you feel better just by stretching, just by focusing on the little tendons in the core areas and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. So I never have no set questions. Only one set question I have near the end. I'm going to ask both you guys to answer it separately. I'll start with Kevin this time. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be described or remembered by your loved ones?
My goodness. I would want people that love me to say that he cared about people. He always impacted people in a positive way. He was relatable. And I think the biggest thing for me would be he was real. He was just a real person who didn't sugarcoat. He was just real. What you saw is what you get with Kevin. That's what I'm trying to live for.
I love it. Alan?
Mm-hmm. For me, I think...
Yeah, more time to think about this. No.
All right, he's stalling too.
A little bit.
What is that?
A powerful question.
It's
a powerful question. I have a lot of ways I could go with it, but at the end of the day, it comes down to this. I would want it to be said that I did what was hard and necessary to lead by example, to do what was virtuous and what was right versus what was easy and not what was best. Someone who always bettered their best and led by example. Yeah.
Have you either ever heard this or ever done this themselves? The road to living eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful. You have done it, Alan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very powerful because once you actually physically write down how you want to actually be remembered, it's so powerful, right? There's a couple of people out there to talk about this very much, but it's such a powerful little tool to do. Superpower. If you guys had, start with Alan now. Last question. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
To pause time. When I'm with Emilia, I'm telling you, we're in flow. Time slips away. Einstein's in the background of your thing, right? And he came up with the theory of relativity. And I was reading Einstein the other night, and he said, you want to know relativity? And this is what he said to his secretary at the time. They called it secretary back then. Now it would be executive assistant. He said, you want to understand relativity in one sentence. It's spend an hour on a park bench with the one you love, and it'll feel like a minute. Put your hand on a hot stove for a minute, and it'll feel like an hour. When I'm with Emilia, I am telling you, 6 hours goes by like that. And I always tell her I wish I could pause time.
Mine's going to sound pretty selfish. After that, I just want to have Hulk-like strength. You know what I mean? Like, the Incredible Hulk always moved me. He could just do anything and nothing could hurt him. So I'm going to go the other way with that, Jeff.
I love it. Oh, that is awesome. God, you're saying something there, and I wasn't even going to go there with this, but in the last few years, Alan, I have really focused on time as a currency.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really learned in my 40s to appreciate time so much more. And I think a lot of people, they might go their whole life and not realize time as a currency. When you're young, it's abundance. Like you said, time is nothing. You just go with the flow, right? And a few years ago, I'm fortunate enough to have my parents still with me, and I have an amazing family. And a few years ago, my dad would call me up, say, Jeff, I need help with this. And I'd be like, yeah, no problem, Dad. It's on a Tuesday. I'll see you Saturday. Now I live with zero regrets. Every single day I live with zero regrets. My dad were to call me or text me right now, as soon as I'm done this podcast, boom, I'm down there. I never want to put myself in a situation where I'm driving home and I get that call that something happened to my dad and I didn't go see him when he called for me. So I live with zero regrets, and I understand the importance of time. When my kids say, Dad, I want to go for, if you see my storylines, I literally doing whatever my kids ask to do, I do. If they want to go for a bike ride, boom, let's go for a bike ride. You want to go play catch, let's go play catch. Whatever they want to do, because I call it the yes factor. Whatever they want to do that it involves just time, not financially buying something, but it's time, building memories, filling the memory bank with me, that one day I'm not here, you'll be able to have filled. I say yes to. I appreciate how important time is, and I really have an understanding of how quickly time goes by. So I think, and that's something where it took me into my 40s to realize that, but I mean, I'm hoping you guys grasp it very early, because it's so powerful once you actually truly understand it, right? It just puts a different perspective, and it also puts a perspective on people in your life. How many people in your life shouldn't be there? How many people in your life are wasting your time? And that might be go back to your whole thing with your dad, Kevin. It's just, it is not, how much time do you have in a day to surround yourself with your goals and the goals and the people around you do you love, right? So you only have, when you have 24 hours, how do you want to spend it, right? So I think time is such an important thing. So I love what you said there, Alan, as well. Anything you guys want to finish off with, boys?
Yeah, you talked a lot about Alan's answer. What do you think about Hulk-like strength? You want to expand on that at all?
I don't even want to show you, man. I got Superman behind me. See Superman?
Oh, okay, there it is.
I got superheroes all over this office here. So it's either memorabilia or superheroes. So I'm just teasing. I love the whole superhero thing, man. I mean, you could do some. You could probably make a living off Instagram if you have superheroes Hulk power. Just making on videos all day.
There's a lot of people doing it.
Anything we want to add? Just thank you. This is a great conversation.
This
is really good. One book I would recommend is On the Shortness of Life by Lucius Seneca.
Okay.
Roman philosopher Lucius Seneca, On the Shortness of Life. You want to know the value of time? That book will do it. That'll knock your hair back for sure.
I love that.
And then if you like this, Next Level University, 600 episodes, we produce 5 a week forever. And we're always talking about how to get you to the next level of your life, love, health, and wealth.
I love it. On all the show notes, I'm going to put how to get a hold of these young 2 gentlemen and follow their path, because they have a very, very bright future. They've obviously accomplished a lot, but the future is very bright for these young 2 gentlemen. I appreciate you guys coming on, man. It was a fun conversation, man. Very cool, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk soon.